Right, 2 October 2023, and today I've got a special guest, Miss Ruvimbo Makumbe. How are you?
I am good, thank you. Good to be back on the Zimbabwe.
How are you?
Excuse me. I am good.
No, don't worry. It's all good. It's all good.
I had another thing playing in the background.
All right, it's all good. So, how's it going? You've been gone for a while, and
I have.
What has been happening?
Do you know what? I think when I came on, and you remember you were sharing my stuff, and I did a few interviews with you. I think after that, really, I have been studying. It's been really, I think I realized that I jumped into ministry and God was really working on my character. He's really been working on making sure that I'm equipped for the work, because I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And I definitely feel I'm a bit more eloquent and knowledgeable, as opposed to last time. I was like a baby. I was passionate, but I think I lacked the language. I lacked the understanding and really connecting with the people. I spent quite a bit of time in Zimbabwe during December, January, and I think I really took the time to speak to people, understand what people are going through, so I can know how to implement it in the work that I do today. So I've been busy, I've been working, doing a lot of work projects, and then also doing a lot of activist work as well. So I've been working with organizations like Christian Aid and Tear Fund, speaking at festivals as well, and advocating especially for the Zimbabwean people, so that they get what they deserve, they get what they need. I'm really understanding my privilege here living in the UK, and understanding that I can be a voice here where I am. So yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
I guess I'll say I'm currently doing my master's, so that has definitely been keeping me busy.
Okay, now you know what? Many people don't know that you traveled to Zimbabwe. What was your experience there? What is it that you found there that you would like to share with people?
I found that people are suffering. I found that people are having a really difficult time. So, for example, I really wanted to embrace everything. I wasn't the type of person who was going to be getting taxis. I was jumping in the combis, shika, everything. I was really doing the life. And I saw that, that life in itself is not sustainable. It's not sustainable for children. It's not sustainable for any sort of human being as well. And I found that a lot of young people are getting involved in drugs as well, because that is their way out. That is the way of coping with how hard things are in Zimbabwe. There's a lot of entrepreneurs in Zimbabwe. Whenever I was looking around and I was seeing everyone who's selling in their Msika and all of that stuff, those are entrepreneurs, those are business people. Unfortunately, they haven't been able to do it at a large scale, and that was disheartening for me to see. But I think there's so much potential with Zimbabwe. It's such a beautiful country. I loved being there. I loved being home, and yeah, I would love to go back.
Okay, fantastic. So just to let everyone know that you're going to be coming here and you're going to be having your slot back, your usual slot. You used to come every week and would post video, and I'm sure a lot of people will be interested in the new Ruvimbo Makumbe. You've been doing a lot on TikTok, you've been doing a lot on Instagram, and it's really exciting to watch. I watch a lot of people, but you're one of the first people that I go to every day to look at what's happening there.
Thank you.
But let's quickly go to today's topic, and I want your assistance with this topic. Yes. We have a situation in Zimbabwe, in the banking sector. You were there in Zimbabwe. Was it normal to you to see no ATMs working?
No, it wasn't normal. I mean, in comparison to the UK, I don't carry cash on me at all. I actually pay using my phone. when I go to work or when I'm traveling, and just to see that you actually cannot even take cash out in Zimbabwe. It was just really difficult, because I think that's something here you take for granted, but you quickly notice when you are somewhere like Zimbabwe.
But what do you think is the reason why the banks in Zimbabwe don't have cash in the ATM?
Do you know what? I was really looking into this and I was trying to understand. So one of the things that I'm seeing as a pattern, and everybody has been talking a lot about, is the fact that in banking at the moment, they are overcharging people. I don't think they care about the people. I don't think the banks are caring so much about how the Zimbabwean people are doing their day-to-day life. And so you have that as sort of like a nuance, but then you also have the way that the banking system is running as a whole. They're not necessarily making majority of their money from loans like normal businesses do. They're actually taking a lot of their money from charging people extra fees. And then in turn, you have inflation as well. That came from, remember that time when all that money was printed and then I remember was found in somebody's house. But I know that with all of those things put together, when you consider all of those things, then you see why we are having this sort of like economical issue in our country, and people not being able to get cash readily available to them because there is a mismanagement in the banking sector.
Okay, so basically the problem is probably the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, and now they've appointed the son of the president as a deputy minister of finance. What's your view on that?
Yeah, you know what? It's nepotism through and through. I would love to understand what his qualifications are. I would love to understand why he is best suited to be the person who's going to manage the money. I think also there's an ethics issue there, that you've got a father who's running the country and the son who's looking after the money. I think when we look at some of the things that we saw, I personally think, this is my personal view, when we look at what happened with gold mafia, when we look at some of the evidence that was presented to us there, whether that was true or not, there wasn't any real sort of investigation done or any sort of real communication to the people to try and help settle the minds of the people. So with that in mind, considering that as well, and then you come and you bring your son and you put him in charge of the money, you kind of it's like a slap in the people's face, really. It really just signifies we are doing what we're doing, and that's okay. I think he could have had any other role. I don't think there's anything wrong with getting your family member to come and do something, but I think that role was a bit too extreme, and I think he might be a little bit underqualified.
Okay, it's a total dynasty. I think one day I'll have to cover this for you. If you see the number of people around the president who are related to him, who are in government, it's shocking. But let's look at the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe now. There's stories that there's going to be a new Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe governor. What would you consider compared to other countries? What should be the next person who is the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe governor?
Yeah, I think the most important thing, again, coming from the gold mafia, and I always say this, whoever I speak to, I say the first key thing is we need a gold reserve. We need to take a handle of our economy. You know, we've got a lot of rare earth minerals that are being taken out of our country. How can we ensure that that is actually benefiting our economy? And I would love it if the person who comes in says, actually, we want to build a bank, you know, a gold reserve within our country. So instead of taking the gold out, let's find a way to leave the gold here. Let's actually build a refinery so we can refine the gold ourselves, rather than using the excuse that we don't have refineries close by to be able to utilize the gold that we have. I think, you know, when you look at the most powerful banks, they have Reserve Bank, but actually, why are they so powerful? It's because of our gold. And I think it's really important that whoever comes into power actually thinks about that and comes with an, you know, plan of action on how to do that. It would be important important as well, secondly, for them to come in and have a plan on how they're going to reduce these fees that people are being charged. You know, the bank is making a lot of money. I understand, yes, they have to pay their employees and stuff, but come on, last year 500 billion profit, and 65% of that came out of the fees that they're charging people. That is not okay. That needs to be reconsidered and reworked out. They need to look at their business model and really need to rejig things to benefit the people and actually grow the economy, because the more pressure you put on the people, the less likely you're going to grow your economy as quickly as you would like.
Okay, I think to the point that you just made of the banking sector and charges, I also think the Zimbabwean banking sector is actually regressed. I used to work in the banking sector of Zimbabwe, and it was at the peak of the banking sector. At that time, there were banks like NMB, Trust Bank, Royal Bank, Century Bank, Barbican Bank, Genesis Bank. All these were local banks formed by local guys. Bank ABC, which was formed by Douglas Mnangagwa. These banks were amazing. There were billion-dollar companies that went into Mozambique, South Africa, Botswana. We had banks from Zimbabwe that became conglomerates. And currently what we have is all the banks are now under the control of President Mnangagwa and the people around him. If you look at CBZ, it's also under the control of the president, and Tagwire, the billionaire, is currently in the process of buying the POSB, and they are creating something called the Mutapa Fund. I'm going to touch on that tomorrow, where they are basically grabbing all the parastatals, and who knows what they're going to do with it next. We've got a very big situation developing in Zimbabwe, and I think most people don't understand the gravity of the situation, especially if you look at the fact that tourism is now under the cousin of President Mnangagwa. Finance is now under the president's son. It's going to be very, very interesting what is going to happen within these next few years. But let's wrap this up. In your view, the past elections, the CCC, what were your view? Did you think they were going to win? Do you think they were rigged? What's your view on that?
You know what? I've toyed with this question a lot. I've battled with this question a lot, and a part of me kind of was hoping CCC would win. Do I think the election was rigged? It's difficult to say when you don't have evidence, right? I can say yes. I can say yes, it was rigged just because of some of the things that I've heard, but people talk. I can't take that to be facts. But it sounds like it was. It sounds like it was rigged. But then when I look at it, I think, you know, it's not different to any of the accusations that we've heard in America of the last election being rigged. I think what we miss already in the Zimbabwean election as a whole is not necessarily in the election itself, but it's in the election process. So number one, the CCC, as far as I remember, didn't have multiple parties that were running. I don't remember the CCC people actually voting for a candidate that they wanted to run for president for that particular year. I think that there's also an error in that. I think equally, you know, Mnangagwa running again, he's still eligible for another 5 years. So let's see. You know, I think whilst it was disappointing for a lot of people, he's still eligible for another 5 years according to the law. So I think it's a very tricky one to answer, but I think ultimately I would love to see, like America, they have the primaries, you know, currently there's a lot of Republicans who are currently running in the primaries and they're all stating their case. It would be great to see, you know, what the manifesto of ZANU-PF is and what some of their policies, really have that clear in writing. When you go on the ZANU-PF website, you don't actually see that. You see all the faces of the people in leadership, but you don't see what they stand for, and that's a problem. And I think, whilst CCC have 120 something document, but they didn't also give the people the opportunity to pick who their leader was. We were chosen a leader for us, and I'm really keen to see the balance.
Yeah, I think if you were watching during the elections, I was totally against all the rigging and the machinations from ZANU-PF. I was totally disgusted with ZANU-PF this time around. I didn't want anything to do with them because of the FARS. There was this organization called FARS. They put me off totally. And I think it's a disaster what has happened. The SADC, the African Union, the European Union, the Carter Center, everyone says this election was rigged. And I don't think the current situation should be allowed to continue. I think something needs to happen. In fact, the demands for a rerun by Chamisa, I think they're quite justified, and something has to happen. I know SADC is going to be dealing with the issue. So let's see what happens. But I'm totally fed up with ZANU-PF right now. I don't want to lie to you. For the first time, I would give them chances and say, oh, ZANU-PF, they're under sanctions, ZANU-PF this. This time it's clear. The guys, they've gone rogue on all Zimbabweans, and people are totally suffering because of this. And I know you saw this when you went down. People barely had anything to eat. That is the problem.
Yeah, it's really, really sad. And I interviewed a 12-year-old for a documentary I was working on, just for my personal projects. And I was asking him, and I said, what do you hope to be in the future? And he just didn't really have much hope. He said, my hope is to actually go to a different country, but how can I do that? It means that if I go to a different country, I'm not going to be here to improve my country. And I was speaking to my auntie, and she was telling me that if you ask a young child what their dream is, it's to go to a different country. And I definitely don't think that that's okay. I think it's really important to have a country that is prosperous. I would love to see the economy rising. When you look at, we have seen a growth in the economy rising, but by a fraction of the portion. I think that Zimbabwe has very talented people, very gifted people, and we need to see a united country. We need to see a country that is growing in terms of education. We need to see hospitals. We need to see, hospitals being run properly, that medication is readily available for people. We need to see that there is food and water, simple necessities for people. We need to see those basics actually provided for our country to actually even catch up with most countries. It's disappointing, actually, when you think about Zimbabwe, you think about some of the African countries and how they've been developing. They've not been defined by colonization. They've not been defined by some of the dictators that they might have had. But for some reason in Zimbabwe, we seem to constantly be defined by the things we've been through. And I think we have to say enough is enough. We need to stand up, rise up, and own our country and take out hold of our country. And unfortunately, we've had limitations with the current government. Businesses cannot effectively run. If somebody wants to run a business, as soon as it's successful, we all know the horror stories there. I won't even go into the details. When you are trying to educate your children, if you take them to a school you can afford, the teachers are not being paid properly, so the teachers don't work effectively. They're not motivated to pay to work. You are seeing a lot of crime. You're seeing a lot of people dying because of drug abuse. It's insane where Zimbabwe has been. And when you look at the history of Zimbabwe, it was known as the area where it was, when you think about the Great Wall of Zimbabwe, when you actually look at the history of that, it was known for trading. So how come it's not that trading giant anymore? I would love to see it like that again. So yeah.
Okay, fantastic. I don't want to get you started with this situation, because
Yeah, I can go forever.
you can
Don't
really
worry,
get
don't worry.
down this road, you know, like, and I have been down this road. It's infuriating to see what has happened, especially over the past year. And the guys listen to no one. That is the problem. They need to listen, but they don't listen. And
Right.
it seems as if now everything's at a standstill. And that is the biggest problem. Now, let's wrap it up. What are your social media handles? Where can people follow you?
Yes, so modern letters, you will find me at modern letters everywhere. But on TikTok, you can find me in brackets to Zimbabwe, or at Rude the Speaker on TikTok. So on TikTok is probably the best place to see any of the Zimbabwean related content I've been creating. I've got something exciting coming up in the next coming months, specifically for the Zimbabwean people. So I'm really excited about that. So yes, at Rude the Speaker on TikTok, as it says on the screen.
So it's like this, right?
Yes, yes. And some people sometimes see that and then they think my name is Ruth. So I think I need to find another handle, because everyone keeps saying, hi, Ruth. And I'm like, no, it's just Ruth the Speaker.
I just thought TikTok was for people dancing and all that.
No, do you know what? A lot of Zimbabweans are spending time on TikTok, you know. They're spending a lot of time talking, going live. I think some of them are even earning money on TikTok.
Okay, cool. I think let's connect to TikTok. I'm on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. I mean, I'm the old school. So I'm gonna jump onto TikTok and some of these other platforms, and we go there. And then obviously next time I'm gonna be broadcasting live here. And we're also going to be simultaneously broadcasting live on your platforms. But this is very, very exciting. And I think the short and long of it is our country is currently a disaster, and we need to find a way out of it. And there is no one who doesn't understand where we are right now as Zimbabweans. Everything has stopped. If you go to Zimbabwe, the way it was 6 months ago, now everything has totally stopped. Right. There's nothing moving. No one is making long-term plans. And everyone has taken their extreme position and they're holding. It's just like that.
Yeah.
Right. Is there anything else you want to say before we close?
Just let's not lose hope. Let's not lose hope. I think, you know, sometimes it can look worse before it gets better. I think justice is going to come for the Zimbabwean people. They will definitely get what they've been dreaming about. We will get it. I don't know why I say they. We, not even. I'm dreaming about coming back home, living back home. But I can only do my portion from here, and I need you guys to do your portion from where you are. But yeah, look forward to joining you live on this platform and talking more to you.
Yeah, cool. And I would like to see when you do the editorial by yourself, like Dr. Pedro Mteneri sometimes comes here and he comes here and they do their lives by themselves. Very, very interesting to just pour out your thoughts. I've been doing this for the past 10 years, sitting on this chair and talking to a lot of people. And during the elections, these past elections, one of our videos had 480,000 views.
Wow.
This is the day before the elections. People are very, very engaged. People love Zimbabwe.
Right.
But our leaders, they are just not there. They don't get it. They don't get the young people what they want. And I go to Zimbabwe quite a lot. And I keep trying to engage with these guys and make them see that there is more. They've got so much opportunity. They had so much goodwill. People wanted President Mnangagwa to do well. But the road that he has taken now, especially with the recent appointments of his son and his cousin, that is a dark road. And tomorrow I'm going to be unpacking the recent and dangerous Mutapa Fund that they've set up. I hope that you'll be able to see. This is a dangerous thing that they're doing in Zimbabwe right now. So tomorrow I'll be looking at Mutapa Fund and I know we could do this the whole night.
I know.
So when are you going to be back? What days are you going to be speaking?
So I will be here on the weekends. So Saturday is a really good day. Fridays and Saturdays. So I'll be here Fridays and Saturdays. If you miss me on a Saturday, you catch me on a Friday. But at some point, I would love to talk to you about BRICS and Zimbabwe. So
all right.
let's put a pin on that one. Yeah.
All right, cool. No, that's fine. Thank you very much for watching, everybody at home, and thank you very much, Ruwimbo Makumbe, for joining us at Modern Letters. That is on Instagram, at Ru the Speaker on TikTok. Thank you very much, everybody, and good night.
Good night.
Uko kuno aho bano mamuona gere nice ano vura meso ano vura nzebe ano kaya marigi kama kwetu tikom